I'm a single guy. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Crazy woman broke up with me via text message. So you gotta love her for that. It was awful. It was basically, hey, I'm gonna go visit my dad. Okay, cool. Just send me a text every now and then. Let me know what you're doing. Okay, cool. Will do. Miss you. Cool. 3 weeks go by. Nothing. I'm like, what the hell? Text. And she gets back. She's like, oh, I'm just having fun traveling around right now. I don't see myself coming back anytime soon. And I just don't think I can be there for you right now. That's it. That's the last time I've talked to her. After a year, it's just like, yeah, she was really different. I think she has no idea what she wants in life, basically. Because she's dating a guy now who lives in a van. Not by the river, though. He's just a free-spirit hippie, and I guess that's what she was looking for at that particular minute. And I've seen pictures of his van. Basically, he has a bed and some stuff in there, and he travels around the country just doing whatever he wants to do and doesn't have a job. So I'm like, okay. I don't know him that well. He's all over the country. She was living in Los Angeles, but now she lives in Chicago. So, I'm not really the stalker type. I Magic 8-ball it, and see what's going on. You break up someone via text, and that's it. You're kind of like, okay, so what's going on? And so naturally, like the few weeks after that, you're like, well, what's going on? So you kind of like look at Instagram, look at Facebook a little bit more closely of like, what did I miss here? And so that's when you put two and two together. And after that, I'm like, okay, I see what's going on. Fuck you. Move on. And that's pretty much it. She was very beautiful, and we had some good times. We had some really crazy times, and I don't regret it, but it's just one of those. I'm a very honest person, in that if you're not happy, then just say I'm not fucking happy, or if you want me to do something, then do it. I'm not a mind reader like all men say. So that's all it takes. If you're not happy, just say I'm not happy, or if I met somebody else, say I've met someone else. I'm not gonna be some psycho, it's like, yeah, fuck you, you're with me, So I didn't get it, but I'm also not clingy and not stalkery. So it's like, if you want to move on, and that's the end of it. I'm enjoying it for sure. And the girls are more mature too, and they most of the time they tend to tell you what like you said, they've already been divorced, they might have already had a kid, or they've played the game. So it's no longer a guessing kind of thing. You can be straightforward with most people and be like, hey, like, let's just fool around, or I'm going to be here and you're going to be there. But, let's hang out for a few months and just see where it goes. Instead of just thinking from the get-go, like, oh, like this one got to be the one, which is all that early 20s kind of BS in your head. I grew up in a really small town for all the listeners out there. And I grew up on a farm. I didn't grow up I graduated with less than 80 people from high school. And I didn't really have a girlfriend ever. You had like those little kid crushes.
Yeah.
But I never really had a girlfriend until I got in high school. Like an actual, like, go on dates and things like that. But before that, in my 8th grade year, there was a girl that was a sophomore or a junior in high school that had a crush on me, which now that I think about it is a little bit weird, but at the time I didn't think it was weird because it's like, hey, I'm dating an older woman. But she picked me up one day and took me back to her house. And I remember sitting on the couch with her, and we had the entire house to ourselves, like no parents, no nothing. And I'm just this naive, I guess, were you 13 at the time? Yeah. Like thinking like, what am I doing? And she's the whole time she's sitting there like, so, and like, she's actually the guy in the situation where like putting her arm around me, and like touching. And I'm like, the whole time I'm oblivious, just naive, dumbass, like, make a move, you fucking idiot. But like, I remember this to this day, like going like, I never to this day have ever had a woman hit on me this hard where it's just like she's doing everything and me just being this.
How old was
oblivious.
She?
She was probably 16, I think. 16 or 17. 16 or 17, and I was probably 13.
Was she a teacher?
No. She was smoking hot. I don't know what ever happened to her, but I remember those days very well. But it's not as good as did these extend, but I do remember just being a complete and utter idiot. And like one of her friends coming to me like a week later and going like, what the hell's the matter with you? You were in her house and you didn't do anything. I was like, I was supposed to do something? Like, I didn't.
So bad enough you didn't do it, it got out.
Well, she told her friend. It was like, like all, like you tell your best friend
in just about everything. And yeah, but that's the truth, because I was really just that naive with women. I didn't know anything. I didn't, yeah, you're supposed to kiss, but like to me at that point, it was more like, you go to the movies and you hold hands and then like, you kiss them at the door or something. It wasn't like, oh, let's go back to our house and just have a huge makeout session on the couch. It's just, it's just stupid kid memories.
You needed the internet back then. That's what you needed.
I did when we didn't have it. Yeah. It's already been 4 weeks or 5 weeks since I did the last one, and I wished that I could have done the next week after I did my first one, because I had said on that podcast that the greatest thing about being in your 30s is that the ladies chase you instead of when you're in your 20s, you're chasing the women. But I failed to mention that the ones that are left when you're in your 30s are the ones that are usually a little crazy. So I met this blonde girl, and she was really nice, and I could tell she was into me. And I was like, well, she's good looking, and maybe I'll take her out. Immediately when I get home, she's already friended me on Facebook, which that's fairly normal. And so I accept.
Wait, how long did you got home that she friended you on Facebook?
Well, I probably went out to dinner or something, because it wasn't. I met her in the afternoon, and I want to say I got home like around 8.
Did she have to go look? She looked you up and found you on Facebook.
She looked me up, yeah. Like pretty much probably right after we left each other, she looked me up and found me and friended me, but I didn't see it until hours later. So I accept her friend request, and within minutes, she's blowing me up on Messenger. And at first it's just innocent, like, how was the rest of your day and all this, and it just keeps going and going and going. And I'm like, okay, I don't know you yet, and you're. So finally, I'm like, okay, I need to go to bed, and it's fine. And the next day, it's like it starts up immediately. And it's just text and text and text. And it literally goes from a nice of like, oh, I want to take her out, to all of a sudden I'm already in the breakup stage and I haven't even taken her on the first date. And she's telling me, I was like, oh, I'm going through a divorce and he wasn't very nice to me. And you seem like a nice guy. And I'm just like, oh, gotta cling her. At this point, I'm already committed to at least one time going out with her. Because I'd said I would take her out, but she never left me alone, so I'm already dreading it. At that point, I was basically committed. I had to go out with one date, and so I was like, okay, let's go out to this place and it wasn't that bad, and she dressed up, and we're at dinner, and she's not so bad. She's really a nice person. She goes, you know what I like about you? And I'm expecting, like, you're kind, or you have nice eyes, or something like that. No, she goes, I like that your canine teeth protrude a little bit. I think that's sexy. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm not a vampire, but okay. No, they're fine. They're normal teeth. But it's like, okay, apparently teeth do it for her. I'm like, all right. So at some point I have to break it to her, and I'm real nice. I'm just like, well, I'm only here for a short time, and I'm probably gonna move away. Well, she did hint at it a little bit.
Oh, damn.
But I put my foot down. It was like, no. And finally I just went, no, I'm not looking to get in a relationship. And she was like, okay. And then she just kind of ignored it. And we went on just having a normal conversation. And then I get home and she starts blowing me up again on Facebook. And it's like, I just don't think you're really into me. And that's kind of what I just said, was that I'm not looking to get into a relationship. She's like, yeah, but I enjoy your company and blah, blah, blah. And she just keeps going with it. And this lasted probably for another week. Yeah, I think that either A, she's really picky and she just kind of put a lot of hopes into that I would be the savior? Next thing. Yeah, or something. But yeah, she was getting a divorce, and I guess she was just looking for a good rebound and thought that I would be it. And I just wasn't going to play that game.
There's a bit of pressure on me because I'm the very last of my entire family, mom's side and dad's side. So, last male anyway. My sister has 2 boys, but they have their dad's name, and so I'm the last. Like my mom's brother died, and my dad was an only child, and so that's it. I'm the last. So they're like, you gotta have kids, but and then I'm not getting any younger. So it's like you got to start, because I don't want to be a 60-year-old father. With
go out and play catch.
A 10-year-old. Yeah. Okay, 2 throws in, I'm done. A lot of my friends, I've had at least 3 of my friends they were a few years younger than me, but because so much of our generation is waiting to the last minute to have kids, they're all having to get in vitro. So they're having 2 and 3 kids at the same time.
And I just
Which is a nightmare.
It's just crazy. Yeah, because it'll be like a boy, a girl, or it'll be like a boy and two girls, or two boys and one girl, or triplets, and you're just like, oh my god. When it comes to me, I mean, my relationships are nowhere near as long as you guys because you're committed. My favorite things in relationships are subtleties. I like it when you get to that point where you literally know the other person. You don't have to say anything. You can just kind of like, you can tell just from a glance or like a weird part of their face exactly what they're thinking. That's usually my favorite because like if you really know someone, it's heaven because it's a comfort zone to its own. And the things I hate the most are the insecurities, the dishonesty of not telling someone because they're afraid they're going to hurt your feelings or because they're afraid that you're going to judge them for some weird thing that they think is a flaw, but really if they just said it, you'd be like, I don't really give a shit about that. Who cares? I mean, it's just petty shit that I don't like in relationships. You know, I mean, like I liked my ex-girlfriend, like I always liked it when we would go out drinking. She loved to go to breweries the same as I do. And, you know, like I could tell when she got drunk because she just had the little glitter in her eye or whatever. And, you know, I'm like, okay, you're cut off. And she's like, you're cut off, you know, and then she'd try to wrestle me to the ground or something, you know, but it's just fun. It's just relationships. So, I mean, there's positives and negatives and everything.
You know, Nikki kind of proposed the scenario in which the music tastes are a deal breaker. Is there truly a musical taste that could be a deal breaker in the early stages of a relationship?
I think so for me.
What would it be for you, Nick?
Well, you know, it's okay if people like what they like.
Yes.
And it's okay if you like something I hate entirely, but if I put up with a song that I hate of yours, you should put up with a song that I like of mine. It's
Okay.
just neutral, you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if it's nothing but Backstreet Boys nonstop, it's not going to work out.
Okay. So you're fine with music you don't like as long as you can enjoy the music you like. Like the trade-off there.
The trade-off, yeah, it's like, you know, it can be a CD of yours and a CD of mine, or it can be a song for song.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a relationship, it needs to be a relationship.
I think
And
that's fair. I think that's fair.
Well, I was thinking, like, I'm kind of with you, Jack. I've never understood Bruce Springsteen either, because I bought, you know, which one's his first major hit?
Born to Run?
No, that's the 80s. Or is it Born to Run?
No, Born to Run's the 70s. Born in the USA
75,
is
okay.
the 80s one.
Yeah, okay, you're right. I bought The River. I bought like 3 of his albums, and I've listened to them cover to cover, and I've never gotten why people like Bruce Springsteen because he doesn't have a lot of hooks.
Mm-mm.
His lyrics are usually kind of bland,
Mhm.
so he's not a storyteller. So I'm like, what's the appeal? I don't get it. Because I mean, if you look at, like, I like Billy Joel. I've seen him many times, him and Elton both. And you know, Billy's really only got 2 solid albums that you can listen to all the way through and be like, oh, that was satisfying. But they all kind of stay consistent. And then of course in the 80s when he kind of went through that doo-wop phase that really made a lot of people hate him. That's the 80s, though. I mean, everybody that was popular in the 70s and 60s, when they got to the 80s, it's just kind of like, okay, we're done. We have no ideas left. Because, I mean, video had taken over at that point. It was more about the image versus the song or the art.
But if there was one type of music that it would be a deal breaker, almost a deal, like it'd make me really question the relationship, as if the woman loved modern country.
But, like, I blame Shania Twain. Because, like, basically from 96 on, country music was no longer country music.
I feel like a woman.
Yeah, well, it was a crappy pop song with a steel guitar or a banjo or something to it, and they called it country, and it's not. But, you know, it's become such an imitation of itself. It's always about trucks or boots or drinking, or it's just crazy. I mean, like that Toby Keith commercial or wherever it was, where he's like, "It will put a boot in your ass. It's the American way." It's like, really? I didn't know we put boots in people's asses. What's your curfew when growing up? And I was like, oh, it was simple. I was like, when you're a kid, it's when the sun goes down. I was like, and then once you're in high school, it's whatever grade you're in. And that's what my rule was for my parents. Like, oh, you know, in your 9th grade, 9 o'clock, 10th grade, 10 o'clock, you know, and then, you know, because the advice is, especially from men, you know, if you can't get it by midnight, you know, go home because it's not worth the effort. So
they're just a friend.
Yeah. I always love, I mean, going back to like a friend zone type thing, I always love the, you know, when women do give you that shit and they're like,
I just want to be friends. And because my comeback every time was, I have men for that. Why would I ever want to be your friend?
All right. Have you ever told a girl, I just want to be friends?
No. I mean, I definitely didn't. I know in the last 2 years where like I took a girl out on a date. There's that moment to where like you really like this person, but you already know in the back of your mind, okay, this is not going to go past so many months.
Right.
I've always been a very honest person. That's why, like, when you guys think, have you guys ever said, if you ever told somebody you want to be friends? I'm like, no, will just simply say, this is not going to go in a relationship way. I was like, and you don't really quite say, do you want just to be friends with benefits? But you're kind of hinting at that at this point, because you've probably already kissed. You've probably already done some heavy petting. Sometimes, especially women, like I said, like women, when they get in their early 30s, or like, like it's like, oh, okay, like it's just a casual thing, especially in like a big city like LA. It's like, oh, I'll meet somebody next week anyway, but okay, for now, let's just go do this right now. And if I meet somebody else, great. If I don't, then I'll just keep hanging out.
20 million people there, so
yeah. And so it's more of an adult thing. I called into the broadcast too, and what I was trying to explain about friend zone was kind of similar to that, where you've been on dates, you've already made out, you've already shown an intellectual capacity to where you're clicking, and then all of a sudden she just looks at you and goes, I just want to be friends, or she actually says, I don't want to take this any further, and then a week or two later she calls you or texts, she's like, hey, what are you up to? I'm like, no, you've already cut that bridge off, or that path. Like, don't be giving me a hey, what's up, or a booty call. Like, no. My last two long-term girlfriends, though, both of them are from Chicago, strangely, but I remember both of my first dates with both these girls, they both went Dutch, which, being a Southerner, was really weird to me. Of like, you get there and they're like, oh, I'll pay for my dinner tonight. And I'm like, whoa, this is first date. It's my job to do this. I open the door, I get you things. This is how it goes, at least way I was raised. But then they came back with, no, like the way that we do it in Chicago is we don't want you to think that you have to buy us things, that that now we owe you something because you bought us something. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it totally makes sense. And after you put it in that, you put it in that context, it makes sense. But like in my mind, I was like, oh, is this date going bad? Are you automatically rejecting me at the beginning?
Oh, so you're already thinking, oh man, what's
what
wrong
did
with
I
me?
do? Yeah, and it put me, at least I know for the first time that happened to me, in this really weird kind of position of like, oh, that confidence kind of leaves you, man.
So you're not even, so you can't even relax and enjoy the dinner. You're thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? How do I get it back? How do I get it back? How do I get it back?
Yeah, and then they explain, you're like, that makes sense. There's also like I'm saying, like I didn't, like I always try to make it clear though, like I will pay for all if you want. Don't feel you have to. But if they're like, no, I want to pay half, I'm like, okay, fine, I let it go within one sentence. But there's also that other flip side to like the PC world now, and like even I've done it with the last two girls I've dated and actually went in for the first kiss. It takes a lot of the romance out of it now. We're in this whole my body, my choice kind of thing where like you can't no longer just like do something romantic and kiss a girl now. Like I almost ask every time now, like, is it okay if I kiss you? Because I need that permission, because I don't want to like all of a sudden have a woman screaming rape or something. And I'm like, because we've gotten like that with this PC. I don't know if you guys have been married. You don't have that problem anymore. but I mean, I do, because you're not quite sure. I'm like, that's what they're constantly saying on campus now. Like you have to ask every 5 minutes. The thing about love, or if you want to call it that, is that you hope you find a partner that you're at a similar stage in life at, and that you can continue to grow together. And that's what keeps you together. And then after a while, you become familiar with that person. You can put up with all their negatives and their pros and everything like that. But if you're later in life, you're looking, you really just settle for, because like, like when you're in your 20s or your teens, you're really vain. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. They're all about what society's telling them. Oh, they have to have that perfect body. They have to like this kind of music or whatever bullshit you're into. Yeah, and, like you too. But, by the time you get in your 30s, you're really just settling for anything, like anyone who can, not be a psychopath and is fairly normal and can be responsible and pay their own bills. And that's really all it takes at that point, in my opinion. It doesn't pressure me to buy him a double oven. It's not like I'm single because I choose to. I mean, I do choose to be, but like, no, like I've had relationships. It's just I've only been around probably two girls that I went, oh, I could be with you for a long period of time. But like anything, life gets in the way. They move places, or you just kind of realize at some point that, oh no, I was wrong, because you do. Love is fleeting, and when you meet somebody at first, you're just head over heels, and then you realize like, oh,
that little tick that I got over at first all of a sudden becomes a big issue. Which is what I'm saying, sort of. It's kind of like, I was going to say that kind of about this, like when I was in grad school a couple years ago, I had a neighbor girl. She was attractive, but she was not really my type. We had very different tastes in everything, but she showed up 2-3 times a week and just would hang out with me for hours. And we actually got to the point where we basically were a couple. But I never thought for 1 minute, I was like, oh, this is, or she's the one. But even after that time was over in my life, I missed it because it was something steady and it was something that it felt like a relationship, but it wasn't one. And she felt the same. We still mess each other and miss each other, but it was never that. I'm just saying, like, some people, though, I'm just kind of trying to address kind of what Jack was saying, like some people have it on a pedestal to where it's like, oh, this is exactly what I'm wanting. Absolutely. And I'm saying even in that situation with me, it wasn't what I was wanting, but I found comfort and I would not trade that part of my life because I learned a lot during that period about how to accept people for what they are versus trying to put her in a box.
It's a fine line. Because the thing is that all relationships, doesn't matter if you're in just a boyfriend, girlfriend, or you're married, it's all about trust anyway. If there's definitely insecurities in everybody, but if you're insecure about your marriage, then you're already unhappy anyway, in my opinion.
Right.
It's like, you need to, if your wife's like, hey, I'm going out with my high school boyfriend for lunch because I haven't seen him in 2 years, then who cares? It's like, what are the odds that she's going to like, you know what? I lost my virginity to you. I want to have sex again. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. It could happen, but if it does happen, then you got more problems than just her sleeping with somebody. Yeah, it all depends on, like, because, like, if you're, like I say, if it's an ex and they're hanging out every day, yeah, I would have an issue with that. Because, like, why are you continuing to hang out every day with this person? You should be hanging out with me because I'm your best friend now. But, yeah, I've definitely bumped into exes of mine, and I've had girls with me that I'm dating or are my girlfriends, and you can always put 2 and 2 together. But, I mean, if I've definitely had lunch with those people before because you hadn't seen them in a few years. And then there's definitely times where it could be a current ex that just happened, but then 5 years or 6 years ago down the road, and then time's healed wounds, and they're like, hey, I want to catch up. Like, okay, fine. That doesn't bother me one bit. If a girlfriend of mine was like, oh, I'm going to meet with an ex-boyfriend from 5 years ago, I'm like, fine, go ahead. But that's just me because I trust people. I don't really have strange places. I just have strange situations. The strangest place, I would say, would be the kitchen sink. It's one of those moments where we're cooking and I just felt like, you know what? I'm just going to throw you up here real quick. And well, the thing is that girl later told me, like years later, that the hottest sex she's ever had was the time that I picked her up and threw her in the kitchen sinks and we just did it right there. And I was like, okay. So yeah, like I'm 6'2", so I'm a little tall, so I can she was fairly small, so I picked her up and basically put her in the sink. And then I didn't ever have to have a stool. I just propped it up on one leg and just kind of went at it.
Was it a farmer's sink or was it the double sink? What kind of sink?
It was a double sink, but they were big sinks. They weren't like I know the farmer, the big one wide one. It wasn't like that. It was a double.
I know that
but it was
from
a
home
big
improvement
double.
shows. But
I know that the faucet was like right in her back, and like I think that was part of it that turned her on, was just the pain of the fact that it was a really weird position, and then it was just it threw her totally by surprise. You got to stay current with the dating apps because a lot of those, you're right. Like once they've been out for like a year, you get tons of spam and fake accounts. The ones that I'm on now are Happen, Bumble, and Happen. Happen is interesting because Happen it's a proximity. So like they have to have been within so many feet of you for them to even show up on the app. Yeah, you have your location services on, and so it's a guaranteed way that it's actually a real account. It is scary, but like they pop up and you're just like, oh, like would you date this person? And the thing that sucks is I live right next to the metro, so I get like 100 a day, and they're just going right by me. But the one that's a little bit better, it's more women friendly, is called Bumble. The men get to see all the profiles, and you can say yes or no, but it's up to them to say yes, and they write first. Like, you can't stalk them. You can just see their photo, and that's it, and then like a little bit about them, and it's up to them if they want to connect with you or not. Yeah, I mean, I don't really invest a lot into those apps because they're kind of bullshit, and most people don't have enough courage to pull the trigger and say, yeah, let's go meet up, because they're going to be some weird fucker most of the time anyway. Kind of the same thing with the guy that's in his 50s we talked about earlier. It's just, you need to go to your strengths. Whatever you're into, try to find something like that. I'm a geeky guy, so I go to Comic-Con. But I've met tons of girls at Comic-Con, and then I get their numbers, and like sometimes I meet up with them, sometimes it doesn't work out. And then I go to a bar, which you said you're not a bar guy, but sometimes it's, you don't have to necessarily go to a bar, but like go to like a trivia night somewhere, or a badminton tournament. Some people might find that interesting, or a cheese fest. But that's what I mean. Like, and like me, like where I work, I have 2 girls on my team that, and they're always like, it's actually, women are your best friends. They really are. If you're a cool guy and you can be a normal person around people. Both of the girls I work with, they're constantly inviting me to happy hours. They're inviting me to events to introduce me to people in LA. It's great because the pressure is off of me having to be the awkward, like, oh, hey, I'm Nick. It's just like, no, they introduced it for me, and if I like her, I'll just talk like, oh, that's, did you ever comment on something or another? And then just start a conversation. It's great. It's really can be that simple. Just try to be yourself. Don't be awkward. If you feel that you're socially awkward, shut the hell up and let her do the talking, and then just play it cool. It's the easiest advice I can give you. And it works. And yes, you will have a moment where you probably will fuck it up, but hopefully she's a cool girl. I wanted to kind of follow up a little bit with Matt from Dallas from last week. He's asking about dating websites. I did join a new one on the recommendation of 2 girls. Coffee Meets Bagel is the newest dating app, and a lot of girls are loving it. And I have been on it for 1 day, and so far I am loving it myself. They're my coworkers, but I've known these girls for a long time, and they wouldn't shoot me wrong. Like,
it's coffee. What, coffees and bagels? You said
Coffee Meets Bagel,
oh,
which
Coffee
is
Meets Bagel.
It's kind of a weird name too, because I'm like, okay, because the girls are considered bagels and the guys are coffee. So I'm like, wait a minute, what is that supposed to mean? Like, can
you put the bagel in the no?
Exactly, the bagel. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, wait a minute, so we're really strong and bitter tasting. I live in downtown Los Angeles, so if there's any single ladies out there that would like to go have dinner with me, just write in and I will accept.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I was on Plenty of Fish for a while, but you got a lot of fake profiles for women. There's a lot of crazy people on that profile, on that one too, because it was kind of the first free one that everyone kind of jumped on.
Yeah. Are free ones better than the ones you pay for?
No. I mean, it depends. Like, I like the free ones because people who are serious about trying to find a date will be on multiple of these, and so you can kind of see their profiles on these free ones. But if they're really serious and you want to join Match or eHarmony, but you really kind of hate to pay 10, 15, $20 a month for nothing. But it's kind of like a point I didn't make with Matt's call last week, or at least I know the broadcast talked about it briefly too. The dating apps are really your second or third tier. You really need to just have your girls are your best source. If you have coworkers that are girls or whatever, and if they think you're normal, they will hook you up. Women love nothing more than anything else to set other people up. They really do. As long as you're sane.
If you're a serial killer, that probably you're probably not getting any advice.
Oh yeah. Did you read the recent Facebook our private message thing where someone was asking, is this person normal? And Conley's like, oh yeah, that person's normal. You're like, okay, just checking. They do check with each other. Like, is this guy okay? Because I don't want like this guy to come and take my skin. CJ wants to know about my date. Yeah, it was interesting. It was I had a meet and greet with her, but not an actual proper date.
Now, which one is it? Because you usually send pictures and photos.
Yeah, this is the Filipino girl. Her name is Sheila. She's really nice. She works till 6, and I was like, oh, I'll make it easy for you. Let's pick somewhere near where you live. The day we connected on Coffee Meets Bagel, which is a great app. We've talked about it on this podcast and the broadcast. She was like, oh, I'm at this club right now. Let's go if you want to meet up real quick. And basically we met for like an hour just to say hello. And
Well, Tinder, I think, has already become the go-to for like fuck buddies or friends with benefit. Like, whereas in Coffee Meets Bagel, you're limited to only 21 profiles a day, and it's actually exciting because like it's at 12.
Wait, hold a second for us older people. What's a profile? You're different.
So like basically it picks 21 profiles from your area every day, and then at 12
that you may be interested in.
Right, yeah, and at 12 o'clock, that's when you get them, and so it's like, oh, it's bagel time, woohoo, and you can just basically say, you don't like swipe left or right, but you say yes or no, and these are actually real people, whereas in like a lot of times on Tinder or all these other ones, they're fake accounts, they're just some asshole that's like, oh, I'm going to take a picture of a hot chick from the internet and stick it up there, and then but like I've gotten lots of people and I've communicated with all of them, and I've gotten numbers from I'd say 75% of all these girls. So it's a lot nicer because I've been on other ones and you don't hear shit for a year from a lot of them.
A year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just whatever. Like you'll get like some like, and then
no, wait a minute.
They're too scared to pull the trigger. Well, I'm just saying like with Tinder or Plenty of Fish or these other apps, you might like somebody and then they might like you, but they're not a real person, or they'll never get in contact with them, or they'll never respond to your emails. Whereas in Coffee Meets Bagel, you have, I think it's a window of 4 days to respond or not. And so it makes you have to actually go, I need to message this person to show them I'm interested. And then once you actually say, okay, I sent you my first email, then it extends the time. So it's good that way, as in like, oh, let's just keep going with it. And then usually after so many days, it's like, oh, okay, you've already communicated a couple of times. Let's get numbers, or let's agree to meet somewhere. And that's what I'm saying, going back to Shandy, like, so the day that I connected, she was like, oh, I'm going to be at this club listening to a jazz trio. Do you want to come meet real quick? Because it's only going to be open for like 2 hours. And so we basically went, had a few beers, and just met. So it wasn't, I don't consider that a date. And so I'm saying meet and greet. It was just like, hey, how are you? Just showed that I'm an actual real person and I'm normal, or at least normal in my opinion.
Do you ever have, because you're a good conversationalist, do you ever have those dates where you get there? Because my biggest fear would get there and there'd be someone that doesn't talk.
Right.
They give you the one.
It has like no social skills.
They give you the one answer, and you're like just dying there. You're like going, okay, how do I get out of this?
Yeah, but you guys have seen me in public. Like, I tend to like those little challenges of people that are in their own little introverted shell, because I tend to think those people are really interesting. And so to me, to get someone to open up and talk to me is even better than someone who's really extroverted and just wants to talk the entire time. So like tonight, I met a girl tonight that I think is really great, and she works in my building, and I was like, damn, she's good looking. And so I'm definitely going to go by where she works. But she was shy though. The same thing. Like I would notice that like other people would be talking, and she would just be very intently listening, but not saying anything. And to me, those kind of people are like, oh wow, she's probably got a lot of things going on upstairs.
This wasn't the coffee and bagel girl. This is just a girl
This is another girl tonight. Yeah, I was like, oh, she
that you were
cool.
stalking.
Yeah. Well, stalking. I mean, that's true love is stalking. So don't judge me. That's a good question, CJ. Like, CJ wanted to know, why is it Filipino, but it's called with an F, but Philippines is with a PH? I have no idea. Ask someone else. But anyway, so we met actually for our proper first date, and I wanted to make it easy on her. And I was like, okay, I'll come to your part of LA, and let's just go to a place you want to go eat at. Now, she didn't speak Spanish. She speaks the native language and English. She wanted to go eat sushi. Where I grew up, we do not have sushi. So this was an interesting date. I didn't want to go like, what the hell is sushi? I've only had sushi one time in my life, and it was just the rolls, which is like a shitty, version. And so I was like, okay, I'll eat.
So are you talking about like sashimi or
just the rolls, like the rice with all the stuff in it? But like we went to an actual proper where it's all raw fish, and it's not
sashimi and like nigiri. That's so
yeah, but
rolls. Like
you actually know the terms. I don't know the terms. I'm just an ignorant guy who doesn't know shit. But so I looked at her. I was like, look, I will eat whatever you want. I was like, I'll eat whatever. I'm not that picky. I was like, but you need to explain to me what it is I'm eating, because to me it all looks the same. And so she's like, okay, cool. And she ordered, we actually had a pretty big spread of some fried stuff, some raw stuff, some rolls. But but anyway, I mean, yeah, it started off like my usual traditional first dates, me saying something odd or blunt, and her looking at me like, what the fuck did you ask that? I can't think of any examples at the moment.
Wait. So have you said what you got at the sushi place, by the way, BT Dub?
I know we got some raw salmon, and we got some fried vegetables, it's like tokori or something. And then we got some soft shell crab rolls along with some eel rolls and rice. And then the traditional soup that they give you as an appetizer.
Like a miso drop soup?
Yeah, miso. Yeah, we got that. And then we got some shrimp, some kind of shrimp that was in mayonnaise, which isn't really sushi, but it's something she wanted to try. I was like, okay.
What, a shrimp tempura?
Maybe.
That's
but we got a lot because I told her I haven't had a lot, and so I was like, hey, just get whatever you want. It doesn't matter. I was like, let me try stuff, and she's like, okay, cool. So,
another question?
Okay.
First time or second time? Do you know how to use chopsticks, or were you using your hands or something like that?
No, I know how to use chopsticks because I lived in China for 3 months, so that was my experience. And then and like I said, there's not a lot of Asian food in where I grew up in the South, but I still remember it's not that hard. I mean, it took me a minute to remember how to use the chopsticks, but I still didn't do it properly a lot.
Because my question is because Colleen loves sushi, but she's horrible at chopsticks. So if we eat sushi anywhere, it's really embarrassing because it's like it's like a claw thing, and she's got the 2 sticks trying to grab it's just.
But it's funny that all the places I've been in the world. Exactly, I could see that where, but in India, they eat with their hands all the time, the same as Moroccan food or anything else. So you kind of learn to get over that of what's proper. It was a good date though. We got into some really good conversations about music and things like that. That's one of the things I love about living in LA is that I've already got probably 2 concerts per month all the way through July right now going. And told her, I was like, you play your cards right, you can be my +1. Because I always buy 2 concert tickets to everything. Because Roger Waters is coming. I usually go to most things by myself. But to end the story, though, the date went very well. We got along, and we've agreed to see each other again. That's another thing I need to say. Because you guys got married fairly young. When you're dating in your 30s, it's awesome. Because all the games of the 20s are done.
I bet it's great.
Because basically within 10 minutes of meeting at the sushi place, all the bullshit went right out the window. And it was just hey, are you seeing someone? Are you dating anyone else now? Yes, I am. Okay, cool. If this doesn't work out, if you get a bad vibe, just say so. Okay, cool. I'm not going to ghost you. If I like you, I will say, let's go out. If I don't like you, I'll say, this is not going to work out. It's all very much okay, I like you. Let's go fuck. And it's nice. It's because we don't have time. We don't have time to waste. It's you know what? I'm 36. I'm going to be 40 very soon. It's the confidence because you're more sure about yourself. You're sure about your financially. You're sure about where you are in life. And 20s is still different because and the thing, it's not necessarily about that for me. It's because when you're in your 20s, it's all I could go on a date and you're kind of I like you, but I'm not sure if I like you. And yet you just kind of keep going along with it, hoping something's going to happen. Whereas in when you're in your 30s, after the second date, you're you know what? You kind of suck and I don't really want to hang out with you anymore. I'm not needy. I don't need people. I don't have to constantly see someone every day, every week, or whatever. It's and I told her, I was hey, because we were being very adult, very honest, and she's very active. I'm very active. I like to go hiking. I like to go camping by myself. I said, look, I was if you're seeing other guys, great. I was but if I ask you out, all I need is for you to go I'm busy on that day, but let's try to do it on this day, or just give me a window of saying oh. So at least I know that, give me at least I know that you're committed to seeing me. And she looked at me, she's wow, you think like a woman. That's just kind of, okay, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I heard you were out looking at rings today.
Yeah. I haven't physically met the girl yet, but that's what I'm going to lead off with. As soon as I saw that picture, I went,
when you first see her, were you meeting somewhere neutral?
Yeah, we're going to meet at a cafe in Santa Monica on Saturday morning.
Okay, so if people don't know, Nick has a date on Saturday that you hooked up with her on, what's the site again?
Coffee Meets Bagel.
Coffee. You've talked about that before. So I think when you first meet her, you go up to her and you just have the ring and you get down on your knee and ask her to marry you.
I'm on 3 dating apps. We've talked about them here on the podcast, and Coffee Meets Bagel tends to be the best one. And it's because there's no pressure you to buy stuff on there, like, oh, you have to have so many credits to communicate with this person. You know, it's like, no, it's nice. Like you basically get so many, like 20 picks a day, and you can say yes or no. And if they say yes back, then they give you like just a certain amount of days to like say, like, do you want to set something up or not? So there's no guarantee. Like if you connect to that person that they're going to say like, oh yeah, let's hook up. So like this girl, like as soon as we connected, I was like, just send her a quick little, they give you like icebreakers. Yeah, dick pic, because you got to know what the package is. You know, you can't, hide that. No, like they give you like these little icebreakers about stuff that you fill out, and it was just like, ask her about marathon running because she hates it. And so it's always like a funny little way to not say something stupid. And that's what it was. I was like, oh, hey, I hate running too. And then it just kind of turned into that. And the next thing you know, you're talking. And I was like, hey, I'm coming out Santa Monica on Saturday anyway to do some touristy shit. I was like, do you want to meet up? And she's like, yeah, sure. She'll have a wedding in the afternoon.
Well, good luck on that. Are you going to the wedding with her?
No. God, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Like, I just met you. Let's go to a wedding.
Dude, you should bring a tux. Be like, hey, I brought my tux. And,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I am kind of curious of like what I should wear, because she's already probably going to be in her makeup for the wedding, and she'll be looking nice. And I'm like, oh, I had sent her that note because I saw that she lived in Santa Monica, which isn't too far from me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Santa Monica in the morning on Saturdays. Like, if you would like to meet up. And then she just was like, okay, sure. But yeah, I get what you're saying. As in, that's kind of, especially for women, because like they always dress up so well for weddings that would kind of take up her whole day. But one of the things written on her profile, though, is like things I like about my date is that he takes less time to get ready than I do. So, and from what I've seen of her, she is like a typical straightforward girl that doesn't dress up a lot. So I think she's just more like, oh, fuck it, let's go do it.
Welcome to the Married Man Show with Married Man Jack, Married Man Chris, and recently divorced or separated.
Recently stood up. No, not really. No, I'm kidding.
I saw your. Was she just worried that maybe she heard the show and found out that you might propose
talk about her
on the first date?
No, basically we were all good to go for Saturday, and she texted me, and because we have our numbers now, so she obviously thinks I'm a fairly sane person to give me her number. She just was like, she works in the entertainment industry, and I haven't asked because I don't really care. It's like, that's what you do. It's not who you are. And she just said, hey, like, I'm really, really, really sorry. She was a pipe burst on set, and I have to take care of it. So I have to cancel our lunch date. So I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. I was like, well, maybe we can do something Monday. She goes, that might work. And then it just didn't work Monday. And I was like, okay, we'll just do something after the Christmas break. And she's like,
so
okay,
she still went to the wedding though?
Yeah, because that was like a night thing. I mean, or at least like a late afternoon thing. Because that's why we had the lunch date instead of a proper date, is because she was like, oh, let's just do it at noon because I have to be at a wedding later that day. I was like, okay. I mean, she seems like a pretty straightforward person. I don't think she's just jerking me around. It is funny though, like when I did the Game of Thrones thing, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, they had a season 6 behind the scenes kind of like expo. It was real small near the Chinese Theater, and I was like, I want to go check that out. And I got in line with this. I got in the first line, and there's a girl in front of me, and I said, do you know what this is going to? And she said no. And so we just kind of kept talking and blah, blah, blah. But by the time they got to the next line, some guy was like, oh, I'm sorry, I cut you guys off. And I looked and was like, we're not together. And the guy was like, oh, really? You look like a couple. I was like, okay. Well, the next line, like, we could have gone our different ways, but we ended up constantly throughout this thing being right next to each other the entire time. And every single person said we looked like a couple. And so I think even by the end of it, both of us were kind of looking like, at each other going like, oh, I guess we're a couple now. In my mind, that's it literally gone from I don't know you to like, oh, this is my girlfriend. And within literally probably 30 minutes. And I was like, okay. And I gave her my number, and she gave me her number. I was like, we should just go hang out. I was like, apparently we're a couple.
So what happened?
Nothing yet. I mean, I've got her number, and I met the other girl like a day later.
What about the girl you're marrying?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Does she get that?
I got two. No, this is the other girl. So
look at you, man.
Yeah.
Jesus, Nick.
Yeah.
When it rains, it pours, man.
Nice.
Oh, well, I mean, the sun shines on dogs' ass some days. I mean, it was just luck. I mean, she seemed like a nice girl, and she didn't live too far from me. So I know that because she said like, I like to go to this place, and I was like, oh, that's just down the street from me. I was like, I'll meet you there sometime. She's like, yeah, great. And then so she was an area because obviously she's in Game of Thrones. She's asked me what books I was reading. I was telling her this. She's like, oh yeah, I read that.
Did you say this? I actually podcast on Game of Thrones.
I didn't want to like talk that up just yet. Well, I met my last girlfriend at Comic-Con, my last steady one. Because I just tend to find that geeks and nerds, if they're comfortable in their own skin, are the best people. And we're all that way that do this podcast and other podcasts.
Going back to the original statement that was being made from our caller, can we get a rating? Like, let's be honest here. Was she an attractive girl? Or
the Game of Thrones girl?
Game of Thrones, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about
Game of Thrones girl. I would put at. I mean, I hate to rate women, but like I would put her at like a solid 7.
Good.
You wouldn't kick her. You wouldn't kick her out of bed. You're not like she's not going to turn your head right from the start.
Oh, Eckhart says, what character from Game of Thrones does she look closest to? Ooh,
that's a good.
That's a great question. Please don't say Theon.
She was a brunette. Probably 5, 6, or 7. I mean, of all the characters that have been on Game of Thrones, I would say Rob's wife looked closest to that. But Rob's wife was super skinny. Like this girl was a little bit different body shape type than her, but as in like facial structure and hairstyle, I would say she looked more like her. The one that got stabbed at the Red Wedding. Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely will give her a call or a text like after the break.
You should totally text her while we're recording the show right now.
See what she says.
No.
If she responds, great. If she doesn't, it's great fodder for next episode. Just text her. Come on.
Yeah, I'll text her later.
Say I'm a podcaster. I do Game of Thrones.
Kind of a big deal. We won an award, but I wasn't part of the podcast then.
Matt says
I can loan it to you.
Maggie says text her, Nick, and Matt says I want to explore your 7 kingdoms. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you waiting for the supermodel from Hollywood to call you back, or is that why you're hesitant?
No, yeah, because I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm not committed to anything, so yeah, I'll take 2 girls out on a date in the same week. Why not? Okay, you guys have to fight over which one of me. Let's get it on. Okay, no, I had a date. I had a first another coffee meets bagel date, and it was really nice because I've got this one guy I work with, and he was for some reason trying to give me dating advice, which I thought was really funny.
Is he married?
No, he's like 26, and he's like, but he's kind of how Cliff was, 10 years ago when he was when he was the what was his name?
The pickup artist.
The pickup artist thing. Yeah, he's been taking all those those pickup artist tapes and all this. He goes, okay, like you need to be aloof, like don't speak a whole lot, let her do all the talking, you judge her, don't get a date immediately. Make sure the date's at night because that way it can lead to romance. And I'm like, it's a first date, man. Like I'm not, I'm not picking up a hooker. Where it's like, it was just weird. So I did everything opposite of what he said. It was like, no, I scheduled a lunch date. And the thing is that she called me, I think the night before, and she talked a lot, which was really nice. So when we get to the actual date, she tells me, she goes, my girlfriends kept telling me not to call you and don't talk too much. Like I should sit back and judge you and let you impress me. And I'm like, wow, this is the same thing my coworker told me not to. It's like we just would have sat there in silence the entire time if we'd have listened to these people. And then she also goes, and thank you so much for planning a lunch date and stuff to do in the daytime. She goes, because I've had a lot of creepy guys ask me out at night and they're all trying to grab me. And I'm like, see, I let that woman feel secure and safe on the first date. Yeah, she was actually really nice, talkative, intelligent.
Is there a second date plan?
Oh yeah, we've already got lots of stuff done.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I got to call her after we get done here and confirm for tomorrow night. And then we might see each other again on Sunday. So We'll see.
When you ask her on a date on Cindy, do you say, let's go somewhere on Cindy?
She has a thicker accent than I do.
Oh,
so.
Really?
Where's she from?
She's lived the last few years in Cannes, France. So she kind of has a French accent, but also mixed with because she can speaks French, Arabic, English, and something else. So she has a blend accent of.
That's hot.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So when you're 36, the third date, what does that mean to you?
I know at our age, it's supposed to be the sex date is the third date. I don't think this girl though is because she is an American citizen. I don't think she abides by those rules. She's very formal, which I actually like. if I say let's talk on the phone at 7, and then she says, "Can I wait till 7:30?" and I call her, she's like, "I'm so sorry, I had to like delay us 30 minutes." And like she's like, "Really?" I'm like, you don't have to be that polite. It's just a phone call. It was probably the most pleasing first date I've ever had, at least in the last 10 years.
Does she know about this show?
Yeah, does she?
No, not yet. No, I mean, I retweet on Twitter, and I do my part. I just don't want stuff on my personal Facebook, because then next thing I know, I have relatives, maybe even my mother.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Catching wind, and then I get.
Do you ever say anything negative about your mom on here?
No, never.
Now, this girl you're dating and you're going to propose to soon.
Yeah.
Are you on the third, fourth date? What date are you on?
Here, we have talked a lot on the phone. Our first date was up in Pasadena, and we did some walking and talking and museums, and then we went to see David Crosby on Wednesday night. And
well, wait, did you invite David on the show?
I did not, because I didn't see him.
Was he in concert? Was that how you saw him?
Yeah, he was in concert. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's playing at the Wiltern. It was nice, good show.
But you know him.
I know, yeah, but it's like saying I know Jay. You know, like he shows up every now and then, but yeah, like it was great. Like midway through the show, because David Crosby is really political. For anyone who doesn't know David Crosby out there, you're not going to go to a David Crosby concert without him talking shit about somebody. This woman, he starts talking about politicians in general, how he hates all fucking politicians, and how the corporations have bought every politician. And then he starts getting into Trump. And all of a sudden, this lady, like second row, so she paid good money to see him, just starts going, shut up, I want to hear you sing, I don't care. And so David just keeps talking, because he's hoping that she'll just eventually shut up. And so, but she keeps getting louder, so he keeps getting louder. So finally he looks at her, he's like, lady, you can keep talking as much as you want. He goes, I have the microphone, I'm going to win this, And, but it is a good show. He played a lot of stuff he doesn't normally play, that's why I like seeing artists when they're doing a solo show, because they'll play songs that they don't normally play, or they don't play their hits, because they only play. I think a lot of the older generation that were there that only knew like his top 5 singles were probably disappointed, because he only played 2 songs that were off of a Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, or just an album. He played a lot of his solo stuff. We're going to go out this week pretty soon, because she has to go to San Francisco this coming week after this week. And then she has to go to France for a few weeks after that.
You haven't had the third date yet. Since you started dating this girl and talking to this girl a lot, it seems like, are you still communicating with other females on the coffee and bagels?
Yeah, you have to. I mean,
you have to. You found Mrs. Right. Why would you have to?
No, he hasn't put a ring on it, so
yeah, exactly. I mean, she's totally attractive, totally awesome. I think she's got a great personality. She makes me laugh. She's so far I have no complaints with her.
What are you waiting for?
She's going to France, man. You know what they do there, right? Anyway.
Okay, have you seen French Men? I'm not threatened in any way whatsoever. Yeah, it's great. And we were already like pretty much committing to like see each other all the time, and she's the perfect lady in a lot of ways. She's no drama. We're both very honest with each other.
Whoa. She's the what?
Perfect lady, no drama, I think is what he said.
Yeah. I'm not saying she's the one, Chris. I'm just saying
those are relationship terms.
Yeah. I'm saying for a first few dates, she's pretty freaking
all right, wait.
awesome.
I asked you if you're off the bagels and coffee.
No.
Is she off coffee and bagels?
No.
So you guys are still playing the field.
Look, if she came to tomorrow and said, hey, I met another bagel and I went on a date with him and I really like him, I'd be like,
I want to spill my coffee on you.
Yeah. I went on the bagel and the cream cheese, and trust me, the cream cheese was a lot better than your cream cheese. Tell me.
I just assumed that the women were the bagels. I don't know why.
Yeah, exactly. I meant another coffee. Yeah.
Well, she could mean another bagel. You can still join along.
Yeah. So if she found another coffee.
If she found another coffee and said, I like him, I'm going to give him a shot, I'd be like, all right, cool.
In all the women you've met on Coffee and Bagels, have you ever met someone who has never seen Star Wars? Are you still dating one?
Yeah. She's leaving tomorrow for France.
So she could vote on the vote for the elections. Isn't that this weekend?
Oh, she's American citizen, so I'm not sure if she has dual citizenship or not.
who wouldn't want to go to France just to vote?
Yeah, she was going to Cannes. I think the film festival is coming up, and so she's going to that. But she's in the fashion industry, so she's going for like the Cannes fashion, whatever it's called, while the film festival is going on.
That's where all the nude beaches are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Nick, she's in the fashion industry. Does she eye you as a project or?
Look, some women, okay, when they're all gussied up all the time and looking their finest, they want that Bubba guy that just wears the plaid shirt, the jeans, and drinks the Miller Lite, because it's like, that's the catch, okay? Because they're like...
If you didn't know Nick was from the South, you knew it once he said gussied up.
That's right. All right. Well, there's lots of things. Like I say, like me and Cliff went to the show last night. And most people will go like, oh, you went and saw a play? I'm like, no, I mean the movies, because it comes from picture show. You know, most Southerners say show. Just all those old words. I don't know why we still use them.
Ed commented in the chat. He said, so there's no longer any single guys on this podcast.
Not like official, though, right?
Yeah, we're not official, because like we've only been on 2 official dates, and because she's really busy. But like, no, we're still hanging in there.
We're not exclusive then.
You see a future with her, though?
I do. We'll see, because we're still at that moment, at that phase where like I could say something really stupid or she could say something really stupid, and you're like, all right, the deal's off. Which most likely that's probably going to happen with me down the road, especially in our generation, as in Jay and Chris and I's generation. The margin of error is very slim, I think.
Really?
Yeah, except with Colleen, because Colleen was just, you know, she saw Jay and she's like, there's just a whole ball of mess that I can fix.